So after 29-year-old Omar Mir Sadiq Mateen saw two men hugging and kissing in front of him and his family, he was outraged. Omar Mir Sadiq Mateen was not going to let that slide. He absolutely hated gay people. He hated them. Not because deep down inside of himself is a gay man, and he was worried that he secretly loved dicks, but because of religion, probably, maybe patriarchy. So Omar Mir Sadiq Mateen felt the need to do something about those two men kissing. So that's when, on June 12th, 2016, today, early Sunday morning at 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, so it was early this morning, what would amount to a late Saturday night, 29-year-old Omar Mir Sadiq Mateen, a G4S Secure Solutions security officer, stormed a gay nightclub named Pulse in Orlando, Florida, with a Glock pistol and an AR-15 style assault rifle and possibly another mysterious device. And he murdered 50 people and injured 53 others. So 50 people are dead, 53 more are injured because he really hated gay people. There was a witness, Christopher Hansen. He was getting a drink at Pulse at about 2 a.m. when he just saw bodies going down. Christopher Hansen heard gunshots, just one after another. The gunshots went on for so long that the shooting could have lasted a whole song, Hansen said. So that's about 3 minutes, maybe 10. Many of the patrons at Pulse, the Orlando nightclub, thought that the gunshots were part of the dance music. The loud music and darkness amplified the panic and confusion at Pulse. One person hid in the bathroom by covering herself up with the bodies of dead victims to protect herself. Some entertainers hid inside a dressing room when the shooting began, and they escaped the building by crawling out when the police removed the air conditioning unit. After a 3-hour siege, eventually at 5 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, the negotiations broke down. They said, fuck this shit. 11 Orlando police officers and 3 Orange County sheriff's deputies stormed Pulse by crashing into the side of the nightclub with an armored vehicle and using stun grenades, and they eventually killed 29-year-old Omar Mateen, the longtime G4S Secure Solutions security officer. Omar Mateen had about 30 hostages, so they were all freed. One officer received a non-lethal shot to his head and was hospitalized with eye injuries. A Kevlar police helmet saved the life of one police officer. There were about 300 people who were in the club at the time of the shooting. So far, there's been no accomplices found, so it seems like Omar Mateen is a lone wolf, though there's a Facebook meme that's going around saying that there's 2 others at large. It sounds like bullshit, but who knows. Omar Mateen actually lived in Fort Pierce, Florida, which is about 120 miles south of Florida, or of Orlando, on Florida's Atlantic coast. So 120 miles, that means he had to drive 2 or 3 hours, an awfully far distance, to kill these 50 folks and injure the 53 more. While Omar Mateen was inside Pulse, he called 911 and he pledged allegiance to the leader of ISIS, or ISIL, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. That's the leader of ISIS or ISIL, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. And he mentioned the Boston Marathon bombers, Dzhokhar Tsarnaev and Tamerlan Tsarnaev. Omar Mir Sadiq Mateen was also heard shouting Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, while engaging officers in the shootout at Pulse. So people, it seems like there's a strong Islamic connection to the shooting. So it's not clear, actually, though, if Omar Mateen was literally an ISIS fighter or if he just claimed after the fact that he was an ISIS fighter who was inspired on his own accord. The FBI had investigated Omar Mateen in 2013, 3 years ago, when he made inflammatory comments to coworkers about having ties to terrorism, and in 2014, 2 years ago, when Omar Mateen was linked to Moner Mohammed Abu Salha, a U.S. citizen who blew himself up that year in a suicide bombing in Syria. Omar Mateen legally bought the two guns, a Glock pistol and the AR-15 style assault long rifle, the long gun / rifle, used in the shooting in the past week. So he just got these two guns this last week. And the reason why he was able to purchase the guns, he has no priors, he has no criminal record. And Omar Mateen had active security officer and firearm licenses. Omar Mateen had 2 firearm licenses since September 2011. Omar Mateen had 2 firearms licenses. One was a security officer license, and the other was a statewide firearms license, and both were going to expire in September 2017. So he had 2, he has no prior criminal record, and he was licensed. He had 2 licenses. One as a security officer, and the other one is just, I guess it's carry concealed. Like how in Kentucky we have carried concealed. That's the way you can have a firearms license. It's a statewide firearms license. So he had 2 of them. He had no criminal record in Florida. And Omar Mateen worked for G4S Secure Solutions for nearly 9 years. He's been a security officer for G4S Secure Solutions for almost a decade. Omar Mateen worked at G4S Secure Solutions. He started working there September 10th, 2007. G4 Secure Solutions is one of the world's largest private security companies in the world, which has provided security in more than 100 countries, including Afghanistan and Iraq. G4S provides security guards, technology, and other services, and its customer base span a range of industries, including mining, finance, and retail. G4S, at least the American version, was founded as the Wackenhut Corporation in 1954 in Coral Gables, Florida, by George Wackenhut and 3 partners who are all former FBI agents. In 2002, the Wackenhut Corporation was acquired for $570 million by the Danish corporation Group 4 Falck. G4F. Group 4 Falck. F-A-L-C-K. Falck. So the Group 4 Falck had actually also merged in 2004 to form the British company G4S, which is headquartered in London. G4S provided the security for the Olympics in London in 2012. G4S has provided security personnel for the Department of Homeland Security, the U.S. Customs and Border Protection at the U.S.-Mexican border, and it has helped transport undocumented immigrants from urban areas. In 2010, G4S Wackenhut changed its name to G4S Secure Solutions USA. So in 2010, 6 years ago, it was called Wackenhut. It was called G4S Wackenhut. But they changed its name to G4S Secure Solutions USA. So this is a global security firm, and the American version of G4S is called G4S Security Solutions, and they say that they changed the name to reflect their new business model. Not because Wackenhut had a bad reputation, but to reflect a new business model. The G4S Americas region headquarters is located at 1395 University Boulevard, Jupiter, Florida. Some background information. Omar Mir Sadiq Mateen's family is from Afghanistan, who immigrated here in the 1980s. Omar Mateen himself, however, was born in New York in 1986. He's an American citizen. Omar Mateen was born here in the United States on this soil. And that's all it takes to become an American citizen. There's no civil service exam. There's no test that any person born here has to pass. All you have to do is be born on this soil. So he was born in New York in 1986. A neighbor said that the young family was so poor that they didn't have enough money to buy food. So the children were very hungry. Omar Mateen attended Martin County High School in Stuart, Florida for at least 1 year. Omar Mateen got 2 science degrees from Indian River State College in Fort Pierce, Florida, which he received in 2006 and 2007. Omar Mateen was married in Port St. Lucie, L-U-C-I-E, Lucie, Florida in 2009, though I did see one article that said 2007. So he was married in 2009 to a woman who was originally from Uzbekistan, but they divorced in July 2011. Omar Mateen has a 3-year-old son, which doesn't sound like it comes from that marriage. 3 years old, so that's 2013. He divorced 2011, the Uzbekistani. So the Washington Post had spoke to a woman whom they identified as Omar Mateen's ex-wife, and his ex-wife described Omar Mateen as unstable. So sounds like perhaps mental issues. She said, he beat me. He would just come home and start beating me up because the laundry wasn't finished or something like that. So for trivial reasons, do as I say. How dare you backtalk me, woman? You'll do as I command you. After he divorced his one ex-wife, the Uzbekistani, I'm not sure what you call a person from Uzbekistan, but the woman from Uzbekistan, after he divorced her, he remarried, and I assume that it was his new wife, which bore him the 3-year-old son that he has right now. Doug Stanhope had a quote about religion. He said, "You never hear in the news 200 killed today when atheist rebels took heavy shelling from the agnostic stronghold in the north." You never see the atheists versus the agnostics. There's not a war. You'll hear there's economic reasons, there's land reasons, but a lot of times you'll have religious reasons for wars too, but you never hear the agnostics and the atheists bombing each other. John Lennon sang a song, 60s or 70s, he's in the 60s or 70s, called Imagine, where he asked his listeners to imagine that there's no countries, so no nation states or religion. And he says it's easy if you try to imagine a world without countries or religion and for us to stop killing each other. So imagine living in peace. But that's, John Lennon had sung that song. Something to think about. The Westboro Baptist Church, they tweeted out, "God hates fags. God sent the shooter. God hates murderer Omar Mateen. Omar Mateen and the slain fags are in hell. Repent." So according to West Baptist Church, God sent this bad guy. He sent the bad guy who's in hell now. So I guess God's kind of a dick, right? He sends someone to kill homosexuals, and then he condemns the person that he sent to shoot in hell. It's not very nice. And this reminds me of fundamentalist Christian Kim Davis. She was a strong opponent of gay marriage, right? She stayed strong, fought against gay marriage, went to prison, went to jail because she didn't want to give them marriage licenses. She comes out full on, what's that movie? That prison movie? I don't know, it was a James Gordine joke. Fuck. I don't know, but she comes out like she's liberated. I'm free. I'll think of it later. But Christian Kim Davis, she really hated gay people too. Just like Matt Bevin, the governor of Kentucky. In 2004, actually the majority of Kentucky voters, which is actually, we have a low turnout rate, so it's like 30%. The majority of 30%, so maybe 16% or so of the population voted against gay marriage with the amendment. So we have freedom of speech, right to bear arms, and fuck gay people. That was the amendment they voted on. But evidently there's a bunch of voting Kentuckians who think that homosexuality is a sin. They'll be condemned by God, and they'll burn in hell after they die for their sin. Mark Twain said the best cure for Christianity is reading the Bible. Trump says he's vindicated by calling for a ban on Muslims after the San Bernardino attacks, which saw 14 people get killed. Trump said if we do not get tough and smart real fast, we're not going to have a country anymore because our leaders are weak. I said this was going to happen, and it's only going to get worse. I'm trying to save lives and prevent the next terrorist attack. We cannot afford to be politically correct anymore. Bernie Sanders said that ISIS must be destroyed. Hillary Clinton called it a massacre. Donald Trump ripped President Obama and Hillary Clinton for avoiding the term radical Islam in doing so, and went so far as to say that Obama should step down for not using the term, and that Clinton should just get the hell out of the race if she won't say it either. A radical, I have a problem with the saying radical Islam. I think it's okay to identify that the person is a Muslim. I think religion is a form of mental illness. But you could also be a very peaceful person. Muhammad Ali, Malcolm X were inspired by Islam. And I really like those guys. You all may disagree, but there's a lot of people that are inspired by religion. A lot of Christians, too, who are inspired by religion to do good and to be good, to listen to the golden rule, to treat others as themselves. So religion by itself, you're allowed to be stupid. You're allowed to believe any dumb thing that you want to believe. But we have freedom of religion, or freedom from religion. We don't have to be religious at all. The problem I have with the word radical is that radical just means fundamental change. So John Adams, Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, even Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders, these are all radicals. So Donald Trump is, he's saying, you're avoiding the term radical Islam. Well, is Donald Trump a radical Christian? If he's a radical Christian, I think there is a comparison. I don't want to say it's a false parallel. I don't know which one is worse. When you have a whole nation state that goes after another nation, it's got a Christian feel to it. So I prefer the term fundamentalist jihadist. Fundamentalist jihadist. A fundamentalist is one that reads the text and says that it's, fundamentally what the text says is what we should do. Who gives a shit if it was written 2,000 years ago in the Bronze Age? Who gives a shit if it was written whenever the Quran was written? Fundamentalist jihadist, too, that's Muslim, that's acknowledgement of Islam. And jihad is a religious war. So when a Muslim feels like they have to declare jihad, they are declaring war based upon their religion. So fundamentalist jihadist. I think that's a better term than sort of demonizing radicals. A radical just wants fundamental change. They don't want it by violent means. They just want fundamental change. Things have got to change. So jihad is a religious war, and personally I can't stand fundamentalist of any fucking religion. The attack is the deadliest mass shooting by a single shooter in the United States. In United States history, the deadliest incident of violence against LGBT people in U.S. history, and the deadliest terrorist attack in the U.S. since September 11th, 2001. So this is huge. This is significant. Are we going to go to war because of this? We're going to go start bombing more Middle Eastern countries because of this? Even Bernie Sanders says ISIS needs to be wiped out, which I agree with. 10,000 troops, but get out, get in, get out. And then, what do we do with the next group that pops up and say that they need an Islamic state? We protect Israel, which is a Jewish state. So if we're going to protect a theocracy, a state based upon a religion, then perhaps perhaps Muslims need their own state. Give them a piece of Utah or something. I don't know. But we're not solving the problem, so we can wipe out ISIS, but you're going to see another Islamic group pop up. And there's 1 billion Muslims in the world, so we can't declare war on every single Muslim out here. And if we're defending a Jewish state, then how can we be hypocrites and say that you can't have a Muslim state? Personally, I don't think that's a good idea. I like secular states. I like freedom of religion. But we're not going to solve the problem. I mean, it's an immediate problem. So if there's a crazy person coming at you with a gun, yeah, shoot that person, that crazy person with a gun. But if it keeps happening over and over again, well, we got to look at the underlying problems. Empire, capitalism, dog eat dog, no one giving a fuck about anybody. Those are two big ones. Empire, capitalism, mental health issues. You know, do we have good mental health services? Did Florida cut their mental health? You know, how are they paying for mental health? Are we acknowledging this? Are we getting people? And he was a security officer, so he had access to guns. Even if you did try to ban assault rifles, he still would have been able to get a hold of one. Or, you know, if you did background checks. I guess if you ban assault rifles, I mean, you could still get a hold of one, right? They're still out there and about. But if you did background checks, he would have passed that. He had no criminal background. And he was a licensed officer. So if we allow the government to have assault rifles and nuclear weapons, well, he's a licensed officer. He's a licensed security officer. So we have, you know, there's lots of personnel that's in the police department and the military that have access to these major weapons, including nuclear weapons. So I'm not for sure what kind of laws would prevent him from actually doing it. I mean, if you did take assault rifles out, you know, I guess he would have killed a couple less, maybe, if he couldn't find any assault rifles to buy, even though they're all over the place. So, but it's not the worst massacre ever. So the body count of 50 bodies in the Orlando shooting was more than Sandy Hook, where 26 people were killed, more than the Virginia Tech shooting, where 32 people were killed. But Donald Harvey, he killed 87 people. He's from Boonesville, Owsley County, Kentucky. He killed 87 people, but that was over several years. He worked as a nurse. He was killing his patients, but he made it look like they had died of natural causes. There is the 1810 massacre of Yahoo Falls, where the Great Cherokee Children Massacre, where over 100 old men, women, and children were killed, but no specific details of exact body counts were given. The 1890 shooting at Wounded Knee left 150 to 300 Lakota people killed. So 150 to 300 Lakota people were killed. Now, it wasn't by a single shooter, but it was a massacre that left, you know, a lot of people dead. And then, of course, there's over 1 million people who's been killed in Iraq. Over 1 million. In fact, Stalin said if you kill one person, it's a tragedy, but if you kill 1 million people, it's a statistic. So instead of saying that 1 million people have been killed, let's say that there's been one murder that's happened 1 million times. If you have to use violence in support of your idea, then your idea isn't worth a scrap of frog shit. In order to get peace, violence isn't going to get us to peace. Understanding is going to get us to peace. So I'm going to end this off with a quote by John F. Kennedy. What kind of peace do we seek? Not a Pax Americana enforced on the world by American weapons of war. Not the peace of the grave or the security of the slave. I'm talking about genuine peace. The kind of peace that makes life on earth worth living. The kind that enables men and nations to grow into hope and to build a better life for their children. Not merely peace in our time, but peace for all time.
Nah, fuck this motherfucker.
You're an asshole, man. Did you hear about that shooting?
Hell yes! That's awesome, dude.
Why? Because gay people, or you hate gay people or something, or
No,
what?
what happened? I don't even know what the fuck happened.
Well, quit being an asshole. What the fuck, man? You psycho.
You're an asshole. Why did you come out here and